All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tackle a question that is literally reshaping our world as we speak. As artificial intelligence gets smarter, and believe me, it's getting smarter every single day, are our fundamental human rights actually getting weaker? I want you to just think about this for a second. Imagine you apply for your absolute dream job, you are perfectly qualified, you've got everything they're looking for, but you never even get an interview. What if the reason wasn't a person, but an algorithm that just screened you out based on some hidden unfair bias?
And let's take that a step further. What if that same kind of technology was used to help decide a prison sentence? This isn't some far-off sci-fi plot. Research from places like the East-West Center shows it's the reality we're already living in, right now.
So this brings us right to the heart of the matter. We've got this central conflict, the incredible promise of technology on one side versus a very, very real threat to our fundamental freedoms on the other.
I mean, think about it. Every single day, we're handing over more and more decision-making power to AI systems. They navigate our cities, they help manage our finances, but as we keep doing this, a really critical question pops up. When a machine makes a huge decision that affects a person's life, who's accountable? Who's there to protect their rights?
And here's where you can see that core trade-off perfectly. On one hand, yeah, governments are using AI surveillance to try and make us safer, and in a lot of cases, it works. But the flip side of that coin is a world of constant monitoring, where all our data could be used to discriminate against us based on, well, anything, our beliefs, our health, even our political views.
This whole entire discussion really boils down to one core concept: human dignity. It's this foundational idea that every single one of us is entitled to fundamental rights and equality. But these new technologies, they are putting that very foundation at risk.
And this isn't just the theoretical problem, not at all. Let's actually dig into how these AI systems can absorb and sometimes even amplify the worst biases that already exist in our society.
Okay, just take a look at this. It's a really stark example. A major study found that facial recognition systems were nearly perfect at identifying Caucasian men. We're talking 99% accuracy. But for women with dark complexions, the accuracy just plummeted, all the way down to 34%. That is a massive, massive systemic failure. And it often comes from one root cause. The data they used to train these systems just wasn't diverse enough.
This is what experts call algorithmic bias. And these aren't just random glitches. No, they're systematic, repeatable errors that are literally baked into the code and the data, and they lead to consistently unfair results for certain groups of people.
And the real-world consequences? They're staggering. Amazon had to completely scrap a recruiting tool because it taught itself to discriminate against women. Its own facial recognition software falsely matched 28 members of Congress, disproportionately people of color, with criminal mugshots. And in the U.S. court system, a tool called Compass was shown to have a clear bias against individuals of color. These aren't just hypotheticals. This is happening right now.
So, okay, with all these risks becoming clearer and clearer, how are the world powers responding? Let's turn our attention to Europe, which has taken a really distinct and proactive approach to trying to put some guardrails on AI.
Europe's core philosophy is something they call anthropocentric, which is really just a fancy way of saying human-centric. The idea is actually pretty simple. Technology has to serve people, not the other way around. And what that means is a human being must always have the power to supervise, to intervene, and if necessary, to override a machine's decision. But here's the fundamental challenge for anyone trying to regulate this stuff. Europe's big landmark privacy law, the GDPR. Well, it took over 7 years to put into action. In the tech world, that's an eternity. Literally 2 whole generations of technology can come and go in that amount of time. That means laws can basically be obsolete before they even go into effect.
And this leads us to a really critical debate. Does this intense focus on regulation and protecting consumers actually come at a cost? Critics are quick to point out that Europe has a noticeable lack of unicorns, those billion-dollar tech startups. So, is it possible that by prioritizing safety, Europe is actually falling behind in the global race to innovate?
So let's widen the lens here and look at this as a global competition, because what we're really seeing is the emergence of a new world order, and it's being shaped by 3 very different ideas about how to develop artificial intelligence.
This chart really breaks down the 3 competing models beautifully. In the United States, the main goal is free market innovation, and it's all driven by private industry in places like Silicon Valley. Then you have Europe, where the focus is squarely on consumer protection, driven by heavy regulation. And then there's China, which represents a third completely different way, total state leadership, where an individual's privacy is often seen as secondary to the collective social good.
And in this race, you have to understand, China has a massive, massive advantage, 1.4 billion people. That population provides just an unparalleled ocean of data. And in the world of artificial intelligence, well, data is the new oil.
China's national goal is crystal clear. They want to become the world's undisputed AI leader by 2030. Their approach is what some call techno-utilitarian. It means if a technology, like say pervasive facial recognition or a social credit system, is seen as promoting the greater social good, then individual privacy concerns can and often do take a back seat.
Okay, so this brings us to our final and maybe most crucial section. After looking at the tech, the bias, and the geopolitics of it all, the ultimate question of who's in control, well, it might not be about governments or corporations. It might just be about the choices we make ourselves.
You see, the very nature of the threat to our privacy has fundamentally shifted. For decades, the big fear was Big Brother, right? A powerful state secretly watching all of us. But today, the dynamic is totally different. We often give our data away willingly, happily even, trading our privacy for the convenience of an app, or a personalized recommendation, or some free service.
This leads to a really powerful idea from Maria Stefania Cataleta. There is no longer a big brother of the state that watches us, but rather individuals increasingly eager to be supervised. Think about that. We've gone from fearing surveillance to, in many ways, embracing it in exchange for convenience. This is the modern privacy paradox.
And so that leaves us with this final question for you to think about. As these intelligent systems get woven deeper and deeper into the fabric of our daily lives, our homes, our jobs, our social circles, where do you personally draw the line? At what point does all that convenience become a form of control? And maybe the most important question of all, who gets to decide?